All right. I'm here to talk to y'all. Don't worry about my little thing in the back. Don't worry about nothing. All we worried about today is I want to tell y'all about the perfect job interview that I had. Okay. Whatever noises you hear, don't worry about them. My kids is here. It's nighttime. We chilling, but I need y'all to hear this story ASAP because let me just let it be known, okay? I had the most amazing job interview and it reminded me of something. The job interview reminded me that I was that girl, okay? I ain't gonna even lie. But I wanted to come on here and tell y'all about it because there are so many amazing takeaways from the job interview that I need to tell y'all about. So let me just start off by letting you know I had a job interview for this new position. And let me start with the fact that the job interview took place on the last day of the year, December 31st. I chose that. I didn't have to take the job interview on December 31st. I could have had it on January 2nd, January 3rd. I could have scheduled it for next week. But I chose to have it December 31st. There's a reason for that, but I will get to that later. But let me tell y'all how G I was throughout the job interview. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I need you to understand what the preparation is about. I need you to understand why I'm here and why I'm here to serve you. So let me just cut to the chase and tell you about it. So I had a job interview. It was on the phone, okay? Phone interview. So there was some things that were said just to start off. She didn't even ask me the basic tell me about yourself question. If she did, I must have rattled it off and went on to the next because I don't remember it. But there are some key points that I want to tell you about how your girl straight just it just reminded me who I am, you know? So anyway, so this is how the interview went. So one of the things I'm gonna try to go in order on how the interview went, but I'm gonna be all over the place because I'm still excited and I'm still excited to tell you about it so that you know, so that you can start taking some notes and you can pay attention to what I'm saying. So let me just start off by saying the one thing I wanted to tell you is when the job interview started, she asked me, during the job interview, she asked me the weakness question. What did it say? 99. 99? You don't need that. You don't need that. Wait till I make you some dinner. Goodbye. If you hungry, then ask somebody else to make you some dinner. All right. That's how I be. So it wasn't the weakness question. It was actually, what is your greatest strength? We was talking, and interview was going on, so I'm just gonna let y'all know how. I just want to let y'all know. Okay. I know I'm all over the place, but whatever. So she asked me, what is your greatest strength? And normally, what I like to tell you is to practice this answer, have it already ready. And you should have it already ready. But y'all, I didn't need to do all that because I already know it. So I didn't study for this job interview. I didn't study for it. But I don't have to study for it. Okay, do Michael Jordan got to practice before he played street ball? No, he don't need to practice. I don't credit he been retired for 10 years or however 20 years, however long it's been. Do the greats, they probably still practice now that are in the league, but at the end of the day, you know what I'm trying to say. When you know your stuff, you don't have to really practice it. You might want to touch up on it, but for me, I didn't have to. So I already knew my answer. So she asked me, what is your greatest strength? And I said, you see how I paused like that? I paused. I'm telling y'all, I paused on the interview on purpose because not that I paused intentionally, but that's how that's how I was. Like, that's how calm, cool, and collected I was because I paused. I don't want it to sound all scripted. I don't want it to sound like, yes, my greatest strength is, I don't want it to sound scripted. So I paused and I was like, yeah, my greatest strength is, as it relates to being a recruiter. Say what? Okay, well, you got to wait. You got to wait, or else you make your own food. So I answered her question. The question was, what is your greatest strength? And I said, my greatest strength is, as it relates to the field of recruitment, is my ability to make people feel comfortable while interviewing. And the reason why I believe this is my greatest strength is because everyone has nerves during your job interview. People, lack confidence, and sometimes they stumble over their words. But at the end of the day, I'm on a mission. As a recruiter, I'm on a mission. And as a candidate, my job is not to find out what's wrong with you so that I can't give you the job. My job is to make you feel at ease so that you can be your true self, so that I can see if you are the person for this job or not. So now what I'm going to be repeating my answers to y'all, but I'm just let it be known that I might not remember them verbatim, but that's kind of how it was. But let me tell you, so first of all, I knew that was a good answer because first of all, there was a couple of things. I keep on saying first of all, there was a couple of things. So one, like how I delivered it. Like I know how to be comfortable because I'm comfortable within myself. And I will add, her as an interviewer and her as a hiring manager or whatever it may be, she actually set the tone, and I could tell with this interview I could be myself. That's a crucial thing. That's where you have to be able to pick up on that person. That's why I always talk about you all have to learn how to be uh, adaptive. You have to learn how to be a chameleon. You have to be able to pick up on things. These are human qualities outside of just job interview stuff. Like these are things you need to be paying attention to in life or whatever. So anyway, so that was my answer. And I already knew. I was like, girl, Lexi, that was a good kind of answer, girl. Because I could tell by the responses and everything. So anyway, that's one thing I wanted to tell y'all. So with the what is your greatest strength? One, it was a great answer. It was a great answer. Two, the way I delivered it. The way I delivered it was good. It was calm. It was cool. It was collect. It was just it was real. Let me put it that way. It was real. So I wanted to say that. So that was one thing. Another thing that happened during the interview was she asked me about the salary question. So she said, what are my salary expectations? I had already saw the job description, and luckily they had the salary listed there. Okay. So I said, well, and I'm going to make up the range now. Okay. So I'm making these numbers up, but this is what I said. So I said, I saw the salary was listed as 100 to 120,000. Is that correct? She said, yeah, that's correct. I said, okay. At my previous job, I made 130,000. So I didn't stop right there, y'all. So I said this next. I said, however, I applied to the position knowing that it is less than what I previously made because I wanted to learn more about the role and I wanted to see if this is something that would fit me. And I stopped talking right there because I didn't want to keep talking because I didn't want to give the impression. I didn't want to say, I didn't, let me say what what a person might say for real. I didn't want to say, well, at my previous job, I made 130,000, so I wouldn't be willing to go under that. I didn't say that because that's not how I felt. Okay. That's not how I felt. So I did not say that. Okay. But people say that. But I didn't say that because I didn't feel that. And in this interview, I felt okay being genuine and being transparent and being as real as I wanted to be. So she said that left the doors open for her to start talking about the salary more, talk about the job itself and things like that, in which that's what ended up happening. So after I told her, yeah, I saw the salary was listed as 100 to 120,000. At my previous place of employment, I made 130,000. I knowingly applied for this job, even though the salary is less than what I'm used to, but I wanted to apply anyway because I wanted to learn more about the job. I wanted to see if it was a good fit with me anyway. After that, she started talking about the job more. She started talking, thank you. What he eating? Okay. Why he looking at me crazy? It's fine. It's fine. So, what was I saying? So immediately she went into, okay, yeah, so, and then she started talking more about the position. She started talking about the difference between my last job and the current job because I'm going from working at a larger corporation to this would be a smaller organization. So she started talking about those differences and being kind of explaining that's why I can understand the salary here is a bit less than what you're used to. Your workload would be a lot less. You're coming from having about 70 job openings to having about 7, and that's another reason why it's different. And she answered it just fine, but I left it open on purpose because I'm like, look, I'm not out of the running, and I don't want you to think that I am, because in my heart I was okay. Now, if a person ain't okay, you ain't okay, then just say so. But I was okay. I was like, I so you know how I always talk about don't bring up salary unless they brought it up. So she brought it up. There you go. So that was also to me a good answer because it didn't make it appear that all I cared about was money. And that was the bottom line for me. I stayed engaged throughout the conversation, even after that topic was done with. I kept asking questions. I kept having great answers. I still was. My guess, my key point here is I was still engaged, and I still felt the engagement reciprocated. Again, we are all human here, and sometimes you can't argue with what is clear as a human. So like for instance, if I see somebody walking down the street with a frown on their face, looking mad, 9 times out of 10 they mad. Just so you know, I don't have to wonder and ponder. I don't know if they're mad. No, typically when a person is frowning and looking upset, they are. So I say that to say I know how it felt during the conversation. I know how it would have felt if she was. Ooh, y'all see that twitching? Anyway, uh, I was jumping. I know how it felt. I would have felt a shift in her engagement if it had went downhill from there. Okay, so we talked about the greatest strength. We talked about the salary question. Now, another good part of the job interview that I wanted to talk to y'all about. And I don't want to brag on myself or nothing like that, but it just feels like that's what's happening. And I don't mean to do that, but that's it was a good interview. Okay. So what else? What else? What else? So we also talked about, do you want to work on site or do you want to work remote? And how she asked this was, I could already tell it was an on-site position. Let me just start there. It don't, I already knew that. Typically if it's remote nowadays, it's gonna say it. So I already knew it was on site. So she said, do you have any preference on whether you work on site or work remote? And I said, my last job was remote. And while it had its perks, I personally would like to separate home and work. I am no longer interested in meshing those two. But I will say that isn't something that isn't a box that I have to have checked. Working on site, working remote. That is not one of my boxes. And I bring that up and I said it like that because that just that just came out of me for me to say that's not a box that I gotta have checked. And when I said that, I heard her say, "Oh, okay." You could just I could feel and through the phone, and I could tell from her little, "Oh, okay, okay," that That was a good answer, Lexi. Go girl. That was a good answer. So and that's how I genuinely felt. So for me personally, I was like, that ain't one of my boxes, But thankfully, she didn't say, well, what are your boxes? Because I would have been like, I don't know, because I didn't I didn't think about that ahead of time. I wasn't, but now that I even brought it up within my own little answer, I am going to think about what are the boxes? What are my non-negotiables? Things like that. So that's something I wanted to talk about as well. So if you are the type of person that need remote or need on or don't care, say your answer. Say it truthfully. Don't be all stubborn and be like, I'm looking for a remote job, so I'm gonna say. No, I would prefer to work remote. Or don't lie and say you don't have a preference when you know you do. Let's talk about that. Don't lie. Don't lie about that. All right. So that was a part of the job interview that I can tell she was okay. Okay. And I'm like, so at this point, y'all, other stuff had been said, but the whole interview was so conversational. It was so conversational that I was able, like, I don't know how it happened, but I started asking questions before it was the question section, and I'm jotting stuff down while she answering them and things like that. And it was so conversational that I had to be like, is this the question part? And she was like, no. Let me ask him. I was like, okay. Like, is it the part for me to ask some more questions or no? And she was like, yeah. No, I want to ask a couple more. I was like, okay. And then again, somebody else that might have been too much for them. And if that was too much for them, then I don't want to work with you anyway. If you don't like my personality, then we don't mesh. I'm glad we figured it out now so that I don't get no job working with you and your personality and my personality don't mesh. And then, I'm uncomfortable and you uncomfortable. So if we figure out our personalities don't match on the interview, then that's good. My son over there looking at me, y'all. He looking at me. He 9 years old. He act just like me. You act just like your mama and you know it. You do? What? Don't knock over my stuff. Okay, all right. All right, we're talking about serious stuff. Move.
Sure.
Move, for real. Move. All right. So, we went over greatest strength. We went over the salary question. We went over the on-site versus remote, how I answered that, and the whole, when I said that's not a box that I need checked. That line right there, girl, just even me saying that line, that's not a box that I need checked. Y'all need to write, that's not a box that I need checked. I'm going to have to use that in regular life from somebody when they try. Nah. Nah, that ain't a box that I need checked, player. I don't know. But anyway, that had happened. Okay, so let me see what else, because I had wrote it down just in case, y'all, because I don't play around. I don't want to forget nothing. Okay, boom. Okay. I remember what she started off the interview with. So, the employment, don't spill that on my bed. Okay? The employment gap. That's what she had started off the conversation with, because so she asked, she was like, okay, I can tell you've been a recruiter for some time. Are you still working at, your previous employer, BJC? She's like, are you still working there? It looks like you haven't been there in a few months. And I said, nope. I said, I'm not working there. They had a mass layoff. They laid off a lot of individuals, and I was one of the individuals that got laid off. You don't have to go into why. I sure didn't go into why, because who knows? They laid off a bunch of folks. Okay, so anyway, I said, they laid me off, and then where you sprinkle some of your personality into this stuff is, so I could have just been like, it was a layoff. Yes, so I've been searching for a job since then. No, I haven't. It's been about 4 months. No, I haven't been looking for a job. Okay. And I said that. I said that. I indeed said that because first of all, I don't want to be saying I've been looking for a job for 4 months and then she wondering why I ain't found no job in 4 months. I got all this experience and whatnot. Blah 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 blah. No, I mean, hopefully,
You ridiculous.
hopefully, that's not your situation. Which, if it is your situation, then you need to figure out if you're interviewing messed up. You need to figure out if you is just got a messed up personality because it's two different things, y'all. It's two different.
Why didn't you do it if you knew it?
Zip it. It's two different things, and we could talk about that on a whole other video because sometimes it's job prep, interview prep, and sometimes it's your personality, which you need to figure that out. Anyway, hey Mike, hey Jimmy. So yeah, so she asked me that, and I said, yeah, my company laid me off, and I said I just recently started looking for a job. I said I was not looking for a job because after the layoff, I said I took some time to get my house in order, basically. So I took some time to take care of some things in my home. I said I had some caregiving I had to do. You know, JK, my name is Mike. Okay, Mike, hi. I said I had some caretaking duties and I had to do some caregiving. And y'all, I didn't say it like that. You know, when you in the zone, it just comes off. You got to know how to, speak. Let me try to act like how I said it. Okay, so boom, she said, have you been looking for a job? And I said, no, actually, I said, the last place of employment I worked at laid me off. I said, but since then, I haven't been looking for a job. I said, because it came right on time because there were some things going on that I needed to take care of personally. I had to be a caregiver to a family member, and this time allowed me to do that. So now that those duties have ended, I am seeking employment opportunities. Boom! You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? I ain't talking to you. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, that's what I told her. I said, and then I also added. Now I will say, I'm the type of person and just an individual. I talk a lot, so I have to make sure I narrow down the conversation. I end it on time. This, that, and the third. Have to make sure my answers are, cohesive and short. But I also elaborate when needed. So how I elaborated was I said, I said, now that my caregiving duties have ended, it's the holiday season, and I know that people are not hiring throughout the holiday season. But I said to myself, you know what? Why not? Why not go ahead and start looking? So I haven't been looking, but for like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks at most. But what I figured, and this is what I said something like, what I figured is, if you are looking for a job during this holiday season, you need a job. Like, you out here, you are going for it. And if you are an employer that is posting jobs, then you in need. And I said, so basically, you got the people that's hungry and you got the jobs that are in need, and they coming together right now. And that's why I'm here interviewing on December 31st. So you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I sprinkle some of my personality in there. And this is what I feel. If my personality is too much for them, then it's too much for them. So, because this is how I'm going to be when I work there, you know, when appropriate. So, but I will say I'm on live as well, and I'm kind of just being even more of myself. But I do have a level of decorum when I'm on the job interview, and I know when to turn it off and when not to make it so extreme. So anyway, so that was how I addressed the employment gap. Even though the gap was very short, I addressed it that way, and I was able to handle that. Now, like I told somebody else, or I had a video in one of my other videos talking about employment gaps, you need to have a reason why you have a gap in your employment. I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules, but I abide by them. That's one of the rules. Like, you have a gap in your employment, you need to have a reason why you have a gap, because They don't like that. Folks don't like it. Folks think that you sitting around being a bum. Folks think you was locked up. Ain't no telling what folks thinking. So you don't want them to be thinking. You want them to be knowing. Okay? Boom. Another thing. So I keep on repeating what we talked about because I want y'all to know. Because if you miss it, you need to go back and watch it. We talked about the greatest strength. We talked about the employment gap. We talked about the salary question. We talked about what else we talking about? Oh, on-site or remote work. Okay. And throughout this interview, y'all, that I was having, there are some things that I had to catch myself. I had to catch myself from saying two things. Okay. I had to catch myself from saying, to be honest. And I also had to catch myself from saying, well, quite frankly, because I know that I am just a, to be honest, type person. So if you've ever heard the thing or the saying where, if I keep saying to be honest, or if I keep saying quite frankly, it's gonna lessen the impact. So when she would ask me questions and I felt myself about to say, to be honest, instead I would say, so, or I would say the answer. I would pause. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I will pause. And I need you to understand that is okay pausing to gather your thoughts and to stop from stumbling, rambling, or just not making any logical sense at all. So, throughout the interview, I found myself pausing because I didn't want to say, to be honest, and quite frankly, because I know I had said it maybe once or twice, but I was aware and conscious of the fact that I was saying it or I had said it. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to say that no more. Okay, so that's something that I wanted to let y'all know. Also, this interview was so conversational. That's the kind of interview you really want to have. It was so conversational that throughout the interview, I was asking questions. I was asking questions throughout the interview, and I don't even know how we got into me asking questions, but I was asking clarity questions, I guess, while she was asking me questions. And it was such a conversation that we kind of had to, at the end of me talking, I kind of was like, and I said, I said, are we at the question part where I asked the question? And she's like, oh no. She started laughing. And she was like, no, I do got some more questions. I was like, okay, go ahead. I'll wait. Or whatever. And I'll say that to say, like, you gotta look at it like this too. I'm eager. So I sounded eager to her. Because I'm like, is it my turn to ask stuff? So I'm sounding eager. And I know what you might be thinking. You might be like, it sounded like you was too eager. It sounded like you was team too much. Well, I wasn't. Okay? I wasn't. I know that I wasn't. Okay? I know that I wasn't. Because I'm being team too much now because I'm excited and it's over with and it's done and I killed it. You know what I'm saying? I did an excellent job. But so I'm team too much now. But throughout, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to say. I know what I'm doing. All right, let me go back to my sheet of paper and make sure I ain't forget nothing. All right, boom. So we covered salary expectation, greatest strength, on-site work or the remote work question. Employment gap. And then this is the one I wanted to tell y'all. So she asked me, so Alexia, what would your previous boss say about you? And I teach y'all to answer this question. I teach about this question. I teach about the question that says, what would a previous coworker say about you? What would a previous supervisor say about you? Or if you were having a bad day, what would your coworker say as a sign that you are stressed out at work? Anything that revolves around that kind of stuff. I teach about that. And she asked me it. She asked me it. So she said, Alexia, what would your previous coworker say about you? Or no, she said, what would your previous boss say about you? And I said, well, my previous boss would say, Alexia is a breath of fresh air. And then I giggled. like that, because it was funny to me, because she would say that, because she used to say that all the time. And that's the thing, y'all. I wasn't even lying. I wasn't lying. I was serious, even though it's silly, and it's like, it's silly, but I'm silly. That's a part of my personality too. So she's so. What would your previous coworkers, or what would your previous manager say about you? My what, Elston? Mm-hmm. My pros would say Alexia is a breath of fresh air, and I giggled and I said she would say that. I said because, and that's the thing. I always give a reason. Even when they don't ask for a reason, you need to give a reason. This is really getting on my nerves. Anyway, yeah. Even when sometimes they don't ask and they don't say, oh, and tell me why. You want to be able to give them that answer, and they don't have to come back circling back for more. So I said, yeah, she would say I'm a breath of fresh air. And the reason why she would say that is because when we had events, or when we would be, on site at different type of events and everything, I said, I always try to uplift people. I always try to brighten somebody's day. And even if I'm having a bad day, or even if I'm like in a bad zone, for some reason, when I get to my destination, or when I get around my coworkers, or when I get to where I'm going, I feel uplifted, and I feel like, you know, pouring that same energy on the people. I don't carry things on with me, you know. And I said that to her on my job interview because it's the truth, and it was truly how I felt. Um Again, I didn't practice this. These things are like embedded in me. I am a recruiter full time, so I'm interview questions are my job, are my life. I do them 8 hours a day, so it would make sense that I didn't have to really study. Now I will be studying for the second interview, and I'll tell y'all why. But anyway, so yeah, so I wanted to address that. Now, check this out though. Wait, there is more. Okay. Anyway. All right. So after I said she would say that, I added a little bit of some seriousness in there. And I said, so she would say, because I always try to uplift people. I always try to, brighten people's day. And I always just try to, break the ice, things like that. Then I said she would also say that I am, and this is what I said, and I'm gonna try to exactly say what I said, but I said she would also say that I always try to find a solution before I come to her. I always try to find things on my own. I always try to research. I always try to check my notes. I always try to figure things out on my own. I experiment with trial and error. I said I always try to do things without looping her in first. I said, and then I said, so in that case, she would say I'm very solution oriented, and I try to handle things on my own. And then I let her know, within reason, things that I know that I have the authority to, and because I didn't want her to think that I'm just a AWOL and just do what I want to do, however I want to do, when I want to do, who I want to do, and all of that. No, I know within reason what I have the ability to explore on my own, or I have the ability to find a solution or propose a solution on my own. So I let her know that. So basically, I gave her a little jokey joke, but I gave her some realness too, to let her know I don't have all this experience, and my resume ain't looking fire like this for no reason. It's because I know my stuff, but I'm also a fun person, and I don't want to be bored, and I don't want to be a stick in the butt for 8 hours out the day. And if that's what y'all kind of ship you running, I don't want to be there. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I wanted to make sure we talked about that as well. Okay, now let's see. Before I Now, if you got any questions about what I'm saying, if you got any comments about what I'm saying, just drop it below, and that'll be that. So, boom. Oh, okay. I also have a couple of other things I wanted to point out as to why this was like the best interview ever, and why you should be really listening to what I'm saying, taking notes on the things I'm talking about. Yeah. All right. Couple more things, like 2 more things. Okay. So remember earlier I was talking about choosing the first available interview. So it's not always a big deal, but you never know what people are thinking. So it's a big deal. So when she reached out to me, she did give me options. She was like, we can interview this day, or that day. And I always say, take the first available. If you can, take the first available, because everything, they're paying attention to everything. They're paying attention to how you respond to that email. If it's short, if it's quick, if it's proper, if it's formatted, if you already talking in short text on the email or whatever. And I took the first available, but I'm not gonna lie, part of me was like, maybe I should wait till Friday after the new year. But I didn't. Because I already was knowing, like, nah, if she working on New Year's Eve, she gonna be talking to me. And that's how we gonna be doing it. So I went on ahead and I took the first one. I was like, yeah, I'm available on that day, and you may call me anytime. I'm wide open. And she was like, boom, I'll call you at 1 something or whatever she said. I think it was 1:30. She was like, I'll give you a call in. I'll boom, put it on my calendar. So that's something that I always talk about, is taking the first available. And then last but not least, I think this is the last thing I want to talk about, but this is how I knew the interview was good. I need some water or something. Anyway, so how I knew was the recruiter code for if I'm going to call you back or not. Okay, the HR code, recruiter code, whatever you want to call it. The recruiter code is a couple of things. So if you on your job interview and it's the end and they say to you, yeah, and you say, what's the timeline or whatever, I didn't even ask the timeline because I didn't need to. I could tell I didn't need to because I didn't need to beg. Like she immediately volunteered it. I didn't have to say, okay, now when can I expect to hear back from you guys, or what is the timeline on you guys' interview process? I didn't have to ask for that because she gave it to me, which to me was already another green flag that I had done a good job, because you don't always say that as a recruiter. You don't always say that. So what she said there was the green flag that was like, she said her interview process was going to be over the next couple of weeks. And she was like, you will definitely hear back from me. And she said, definitely. Now, if she hadn't said definitely, if she had said this, you will hear back from me either way. And then you probably ain't gonna be getting called back. You might get the email. That's what the either way means. The either way means either I'm gonna call you or email you for the next round, or you gonna get the automatic email that say, no, we didn't choose you. That's what that phrase means. When you hear it and say, well, you'll hear back from me either way. You might hear back in a positive way, but I can bet money on the fact that probably means you ain't getting no call back. But when she said, you will definitely hear back from me, I'm not saying definitely to nobody if I'm not telling the truth. I'm not saying definitely to nobody. And she did not come across as a liar, if you ask me, or, just a BS or a person who just kind of, yay. That's what she didn't come across as that. You just gonna whoop me?
Yeah, no cussing. No
I didn't cuss. I said BS her.
I know what that means.
You're dirty. Get on.
I know what that freaking means. That means.
Don't you ever.
Yeah, that's what it means. Yeah, I know what it means.
Anywho, made me lose my train of thought. So it did not come across like that. It came across like she said, you will definitely hear back from me, and she didn't have to say you will hear back from me either way. I don't have to be either way. And y'all, I know that I might sound cocky or arrogant or whatever to some, but that's because you don't know me like that. But in reality, I am not. I am just very extremely super duper duper confident. And if anything, this brought back the confidence that I needed anyway, because 2024 was a rough year. Okay? 2024 was a rough year for me and my boy. Am I right, son? 2023 was a rough year for me and my sister. And 2022 was cool. So I'm not just that person that say every year was the rough year. Now, every year was not a rough year, but 2024 was a rough year in itself because of the struggle that me and my son were going through together. But the Lord brought us out. Bye. Yes. I know you ain't giving the Lord that look. You agree? You said, he said, okay. And then 2023, my sister, we had some stuff going on too. And the Lord brought us out of that. So that's why I say, I know that I needed a reboost of confidence on my own that, dang, Lexi, you know what? You know your stuff. Don't you ever think you don't know your stuff. And so that's one thing. And two, girl, be who you are. Be who you gonna be. You know, like DMX, what he say? I'ma be who I be, or something like that. I don't know. All I know is this was a great start to 2025. And at the end of the day, if I get the job, wonderful. If I don't get the job, wonderful. Yeah, I will. Not today though. But I wanted to let you all know. I think it was one more thing I wanted to talk about when it came down to if I get the job or whatever, or if I don't get the job. And my thought was I'm gonna talk to y'all about it. I'm gonna talk to y'all about it. I'm gonna come back on here and tell y'all what had happened with the outcome. But I wanted to talk to y'all and tell y'all how I felt about the pay and everything. I wanted y'all to know how I felt, but I will tell you that later at a later date because we still up in her. We still up in her. So I'll tell y'all that at a later date and hope you took something away from this. If you did, share it with somebody else. And if you did, look at the rest of my videos because there's some good information on there. And I will holler at y'all later. I don't know how to end it. Okay, I will holler at y'all later. Are you sure you want to stop it? No, I just want to end it.